We're going to just be walking through, this session is just going to be covering personalizing CRM and working with your data. We thought this might be a good place to start with some of our CA webinars. This is, kind of helps CRM, helps you fine tune CRM in a little way to make things easier for you as you walk through CRM, as you sign in, allows for better user adoption, minimizes the clicks and things that you're doing through CRM. So, and it also helps you work with your actual data and start viewing the data in a way that's meaningful for you. So we're going to walk through just a few things today. This is going to be kind of a quick webinar. I think we have a half an hour booked. I'm not sure that we'll take up that full half hour, but we definitely will cover some good tips and tricks today for you guys. Just wanted to walk through, in case there's any new users in here, who we are. I'm going to see if my slide will change. See. So we are, let me see if I could, we are XRM Cubed, for those of you who don't know. We are your CRM Admin Assist partner, your CRM partner. So those of you who haven't worked with Aaron or I directly before, we have worked with many of you guys through the implementations that you've done with CRM. And just onboarding you as a CA client. You may have worked with Aaron or you may have worked with myself. We're both on this webinar today, and we put this together to kind of give you guys some tools that we thought would be relevant for the users that we're working with CA at this time. So I'm going to go ahead and just pop right into the actual training here. So this is a sandbox environment. I'm just going to walk through a couple things. As some of you may recently just upgraded to the latest version of Dynamic CRM, and so there might be some things that you have had training on before, or maybe you haven't. If you're not a user who's been in some of the CA trainings that we've offered for those clients, there's just a few things that have changed along the way, and I just want to walk through a couple simple things that have changed along with the sitemap and those kinds of things. First off, this Microsoft Dynamic CRM, this little button here, if you actually click here, this will take you to your home page. So whatever you have set in your personal settings for CRM, this will show your home. So for this example, my home is sales and my home area is opportunities. And I'll show you where you can actually individually set that. That's part of the things that we're covering today. If you click here, this will actually take you to the full sitemap, showing you the different areas of CRM that you have offered to you in your environment. If you have other solutions imported, like Voice of the Customer, Field One Sky, you'll see these options, but most commonly you're going to see sales, service, marketing, settings, and the help center. Those are the 5 key areas of the system by default, and your out-of-the-box solutions. So again, there's where you would get to sales, where you would get to service. If you're a service person who's monitoring cases and things like that, that's where you would go here. If you're a marketing representative, most of the entities and record types that you'd be working with would be here. So for the most part, we typically are in sales, but we do have some marketing professionals, I think, on the line today too, so we'll pop in there in just a second. If I was to click on sales, I'll see the different areas of sales that are offered to me based on my permissions and what's involved in your specific solution. But typically you're going to see, dashboards, what's new, activities. You'll see accounts and contacts, leads, opportunities, competitors. Again, this is all based on your permissions, so you'll only see the things that are available to you. Quotes, orders, invoices, and then we get into some of the marketing things that are available for sales representatives, and you'll see reports. Goals is one of the things that we're actually going to do a webinar here on in the near future, so I'll touch on that at a later time. And this is how you can get through the actual sales area of the system and kind of pop back and forth between the different entities or record types that are available to you. We call those entities. So service would be similar to that, but you would have more service-related record types, so cases and service calendar and queues, knowledge base articles. Some of those things are the things that we would use to manage our services. So, a support ticket comes in, you can create a case. Those kinds of things are here. Marketing, so this will be where most of your marketing pieces are, so leads, marketing lists, campaigns, quick campaigns, I know we have a lot of our CA clients are actually using this pretty heavily, so this is where those would be at. And then settings is where the more administrative pieces of CRM would be and where you would customize the system. And for those of you who don't know, this Help Center is actually Microsoft Help Center. It's a really great little tool. You can actually click in here and open up their Help Center and type in anything that keywords, let's say marketing lists, for example. And this will actually pull up some really good resources based on the keywords that you use, and you can actually filter this. This is one of the better help tools that we've seen that Microsoft offers. It's a lot better than maybe like the Outlook help, other things that you might see in some of the other Microsoft products. So do use this if you can get a chance. If you're just wondering something or you want to know how to do something, this is a really great tool. Of course, you can reach out to us, being CA clients. We'll answer all of those questions directly with you as well. So that's just a little bit about the basics of the sitemap. There's also some other things that have been offered in some of the newer releases, which is global search or multi-entity search, which is right here. So I can search somebody's name. I'm just going to say test for now because I believe there's probably hopefully some test data out there. So if I put in some keywords, it'll pull up different records for that search. So quote, case, order, that's all. And we have relevant search turned on in the Sandbox environment. So that's another little feature that's offered as a preview if you have the latest version of Microsoft Dynamics CRM. And then advanced find. We're going to go on this pretty heavily tomorrow, but here's advanced find. And you can do some other things like go to your recent areas of the system. So that's just a quick little overview of some of the things that have changed up here in the ribbon and your navigation. So let's get started into the topics for today. I'm going to actually pop into accounts. And one of the things we wanted to show you how to do if you're not aware of this is you have the ability to actually set which view is your default view when you navigate to any area in the system. So whether you're in contacts, marketing lists, campaigns, leads, opportunities, you can choose which view is most appropriate. So for the sake of this environment, I don't own any accounts, so my active accounts isn't really relevant to me. What would be most relevant would be is if I was going to go to active accounts here, and that'll pull up a much more significant list. Obviously, there's 794, and I want this to be the view that I go into every time that I navigate to sales and I go to accounts. So anytime actually that I hit accounts, whether it's from marketing and accounts or service and accounts, anytime I navigate to the accounts area of the system, if I click this little pin here, that will say that the active accounts view is going to be where I default to, which is helpful for me. I don't have to click on the drop down and click active accounts any longer. So you can have one view for each entity be your default view, and this is personalized to you. Now, in the system settings, there's a system setting that says, let's make the My Active Accounts the default view for everyone. And that's why when we go to accounts, typically we see that My Active Accounts, because that's the default. That's the way that is out of the box. But you as users can choose to change that. Okay, so now that's set as my default area for accounts, my default view. If I come up here, one of the other things that we wanted to cover really quickly is your personal options here. So this little gear is actually where you can get to your personal options by clicking on it and clicking options. There are a few things that we tell most clients to change here. One is where you default to. So I default to sales and opportunities, which is why when I clicked on that home area, this area up here earlier, it took me to sales and opportunities because that's what I have it defined as. This is where you can change that. So some of it, most out of the box configurations will say something along this line, default based on your user role. So who knows what user role you have assigned, if it was copied from somewhere else, and this is not something that's highly configurable. So it's really easy just to come in here and say, well, every single time I log into CRM, I really just want to go to sales and I want to go to dashboards, for example. Or I want to go to sales or to leads, right? If I'm managing a bunch of leads, maybe that's the place that I want to log into first. Or if I like to work off of my dashboard, I can say I want to go to sales and I want to go to dashboards here at the top. Okay, so that's where you can control where your home is. Your records per page is also another one that we tell clients to go ahead and change. This defaults to 50, so that means I can only see 50 accounts in the list at a time. We change that to 250. That just makes less clicks and lets you view more data in one full page. And then we also say to select the detailed option for advanced find. This just makes using advanced find a little nicer. And again, saving clicks, making things more friendly for you to use. So typically, that's really the only 3 things that we tell users to actively change in here. There's a lot of other options in here, but I would contact us or your Serum administrator first before making any other edits. But these are the basics, and this is safe to change. You should monitor these. You should change them. And if you're finding yourself constantly having to go to a new place every single time you log in, and it's the same place each time, just change it and default it here. So if I go ahead and click OK, that'll go ahead and save my settings, and my system will refresh, and it'll take me back to where I was. So if I click here now, again, this is defaulting to my home. It should take me to dashboards once it updates. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to update, but once you change that, next time you log in, it should take you to the new home area that you set. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to accounts. Again, you can use little shortcuts like this little guy here, this recently viewed area. Sorry, my screen's refreshing. Just give me a second. There we go. So it shows that one of my recent views was the active accounts. I could have just clicked there as well. So same thing. That's a nice little shortcut to use. So we've defaulted this as our default view. One of the things that we wanted to go over was kind of more of how to work with your data. There's a lot of things and tips and tricks and little nice shortcuts that Microsoft has really improved on along the way, and sometimes they get overlooked and we forget to train our clients on some of these nice little things. So that's why we wanted to cover some of these things today and make sure everyone really is using these options that make things kind of shortcut options for you. So one is bulk edit. We wanted to show you the ability of bulk edit. If you have the ability to edit the entity that you're in, you'll see this edit button. When you click on it, click on any one of the records. Bulk edit becomes available when you click more than one option. So if I were just to click on one and click edit, it will just open up this 2020 printing ink, okay? And then I can edit that actual record. But if I was to highlight, let's say, multiple records here, and I'm just going to skim through and, highlight several here. You can Control Shift and highlight a group all in a row, or you can kind of just plug through here and see which ones you want to change. If I click Edit Now, that will pull up basically a blank form for the account form with the fields that are available on this form that I'm using. So one of the things that we can change really easily is maybe our relationship type. So if you're not using this, this is out of the box field. The options are available to be adjusted, but this lets you select what type of account or customer this is, or company this is, for lack of a better word, company. So in CRM, we can track our customers, but we can also track prospects, vendors, partners, all of those things, all of the companies that we do business with, basically. So here's where you would define who that company is to you. So I'm going to go ahead and set for all the records that I highlighted, I'm going to change them all to prospect, and I'm going to go ahead and click change. And once that refreshes and loads, it's going to actually change all those records to a prospect relationship type. And hopefully my screen doesn't freeze because it shouldn't take this long. No, yep. Sorry, might be having a little bit of trouble with the GoToWebinar slowing my system down. Go back. And we'll try that one more time. Sorry. So click Edit, Relationship Type, Prospect, and click Change. And hopefully it doesn't crash again. Okie dokie. Look at it, does not want to work for me today. Sorry, guys. Anyway, that's how you would use Bulk Edit if my system wasn't crashing. Again, I think my internet's having problems with the GoToWebinar. But that's how you would make those adjustments and adjust multiple records at one time. And it should just flash and change immediately. You shouldn't have to wait. If you're not having internet problems like me, it'll work just fine for you. So that's Bulk Edit. Some other things that we can do is actually work with our data in more of a filtering type way. So this is really great when you are working with large lists of data. We've got 794 records for accounts. And this filter button here will actually turn on Excel type filtering for the columns of data that we have. So if you have a view that has, a lot of columns and you're working with, lots of records and you're really just trying to manipulate the data and see what needs to be updated and work with your data in more of a friendly, more filtered or more specified view, you can actually just turn on filters. And then I can say, well, I want to look at all the accounts where the area code, so I'm going to do a custom filter here. You can sort A to Z or Z to A, or contains data or doesn't contain data, or you can just click on the custom filter view here. And that's going to pull up custom filters. I have two options, and I can do an and or an or. So I'm actually going to say where the zip code begins with 425 or begins with 425, because who knows how people are entering the data. So I really just want to look at everything that's got this zip code in here. And click the filter, and that will go ahead and change. And now I've got 107 records that meet that criteria that I'm filtering on. Now let's say that's a filter that I'm constantly doing for accounts, and I want to look at active accounts. That's the view I'm working with the bulk of the time, but I also really do pinpoint and look at these accounts often because this is in my territory or whatever the case is. I'm going to actually click here, and you'll see this option when you have filters turned on and you're looking at a filtered view. You'll see this option down here. It says Save Filters as New View. So I can actually quickly just click this, rename this, and click Save. And what that'll do is that it'll just automatically create me a new view with that. So I have this active accounts in 425 now. And if I click here, I will see that down here in my list of my views. So this is a personal view that I just created by just simply creating a filter with the columns that I had available and then saving it as a filtered view. And it creates a personal view. Okay. So that's a neat little trick. And then when you're ready to just turn off filters, you could just turn them off there. Okay. Go ahead and check time. So we have a little bit more time today. We wanted to pop into, and then some other things here that I'm not sure everybody's aware of. You can also, when you're working with your views, there's the ability to set the system view to default by 2 columns. So we can default it by, account name. You can see that that's how this is default filtered because of the arrows here. But I can click on any one of these and actually just, default change the filter here for this 107. Now I can go back to active accounts, and I can say that I want to sort by relationship type, for example, if that's what I'm filtering on, and that'll change the view just for this one time. It's not doing it to the system view. You're not saving any views unless you click that Save Personal View with the default filters that you had turned on here. But when you can work with your columns of data in that way. So, if you're finding that you need to sort some information and you don't find one of these columns here, contact us and we can actually add that field to your views for you or show you how to do that yourself in your personal views. And we'll be covering some of that tomorrow in the advanced find, kind of deeper dive working with your data. But that's how you can actually work with your views pretty nicely. I'm going to go into dashboards now and just show, for those of you who might not have adopted dashboards or aren't really using one, this is a really neat tool. We know some clients who use this extremely heavily, and then we know some who really haven't quite tapped into the dashboard capabilities yet. But this is where you can see whether it's views or charts or some other options. There's like iframes and things like that that you can have available on a dashboard. This is where you can see multiple entities all in one place. I'm going to actually click on a dashboard. that has a little bit more relevant information. I created one yesterday called XRM 3 Overview, sorry, XRM Cubed Overview Dashboard. So you'll see here I've got different entities of information that I'm looking at. So I'm looking at a lead chart, and this is looking at open leads, and it's charting on source for me and putting them in a little pie chart. I'm also looking at opportunities, and I'm looking at the sales funnel pipeline for open opportunities. I'm looking at case trend by topics, so I'm seeing how many cases were created based on topic over a particular date range. Kind of a neat little chart. And then I'm also looking at a bar chart with accounts by relationship type. So this is just showing me how many accounts have relationship types designated and how many I need to edit. And then at the bottom, I have a list of open activities. So this is just showing all the open activities in the system, you know, what it's regarding, the activity type, priority, due date, owner, some description information. So this is the one area in Dynamic CRM that you can actually see and look at multiple entities in one view. So I can work with leads without and opportunities without having to pop back and forth between leads and opportunities here. Okay. So one of the other things that, and this is all completely customizable. You have an immense amount of capability when it comes to creating your own charts, filtering information the way that you want. If the field exists in the system, you can chart on it for the most part. So, and you have a bunch of different default out-of-the-box chart types that you can work with. You can pick which ones work best for you. You can also then apply different views to one chart. So I don't have to just be looking at open leads. I could be looking at my open leads, or I could be looking at leads created in the last week. And that view can then filter this pie chart appropriately and put the information in the way that we want to see it. So this is really, really great tool to use. We do try and drive users to this, especially if you're having trouble with user adoption and people are feeling like they're bouncing around a lot. Creating one of these for a specific group and allowing them to use this to kind of manage their day-to-day really does help and keeps kind of CRM more fine-tuned and delivers the information that's most important to you if you're using these dashboards. So one of the things that we can do is we can pop this chart out so I can actually work with this data a little bit nicer and I can see all the options and I can get that bigger view of the chart. It's one option, so that's this little pop out, enlarge the chart option here. I can also work with my data. So if I click here on this list icon, it's going to pull up the view that is defaulted in the chart. And it's going to show me what's making up this chart at this time. Now, if I click here, it's going to show me what record or records is making up this area of the chart at this time. So I can just edit that or look at it, open it, work with it, however I need to do that. And if I click here, same applies. So it's going to pull up the records that are making up this 55,000 here. You can also further filter your chart a little bit more granularly. I can say, well, in this case, I would like to look at this section of the data in a column chart based on a different field. So I'm going to go with probability. See if it pulls something up here. And click this. And that'll actually drill down further. So now I was looking at estimated revenue for the entire open opportunity list in a funnel chart. Now I'm able to just pull up these two records in a column chart and by probability and take a look at what the probability is for these guys without even having to open the record. You can also see probability is here, but if it wasn't, I could actually filter on that and see that information without even having to open up the records. It's a nice little option there. So go back to the main area. So that's just a little bit of how to work with your dashboards. You also have the ability to take let's say a system dashboard and save it as your own. That's this option up here. We're going to cover some more of those deeper dive items tomorrow, like creating your own charts, creating your own personal views from the advanced find, editing, copying a dashboard and making it your own, making some edits to it, maybe changing the views that are underlying or changing the charts. So we'll talk through some of that tomorrow. Wanted to leave a couple minutes for questions. If anybody had any questions or anything they'd like to ask about what we covered today, feel free to go ahead and ask those now. Okay, one of the questions that came up was actually, can you import records into Serum from Excel? And that is an option out of the box if you have permissions. There is a data management area in here in Serum. We can cover this in more detail in one of our other later webinars, but if you go to data management, you'll see an import option here. And you can actually import lists of leads, accounts, maybe some activities that you wanted to catch up on. You hadn't entered activities in a little while and you wanted to import those. You can do that all through this imports area of CRM. Okay, I think that ends our session for today. If you want to email Erin or I directly, I think most of you have our direct email addresses. If you have any questions that came up, if there's something that you'd like to offer some feedback on future webinars that you'd like us to cover certain topics, we'd be happy to hear that type of information. Yeah, go ahead and reach out, let us know, and I'll put our contact information in the posting on here and leave this open for just a little bit longer for you guys to have. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time. We'll talk to you tomorrow.